A hammer blow to civil rights layoffs crippled the Education Department's watchdog. The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, or OCR, is reeling. In March 2025, the Trump administration initiated a wave of layoffs that decimated the department. This included the shuttering of 7 regional OCR offices: Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. These closures represent a significant blow to the OCR's ability to enforce civil rights in schools across the country. The OCR is tasked with investigating complaints of discrimination based on race, sex, disability, and other protected characteristics. It plays a vital role in ensuring equal access to education for all students. With fewer offices and staff, the OCR's reach is severely limited. This has raised serious concerns about the future of civil rights enforcement in American schools. It's devastating for American education, and it's devastating for students, said Katie Dullum, former Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy at the OCR, in an interview with ProPublica. Dullum, who left the OCR in 2018, expressed deep concern about the agency's ability to function effectively after the cuts. These layoffs are not just about numbers, they represent a dismantling of the infrastructure that protects the most vulnerable students. The OCR's ability to conduct thorough investigations, particularly in-person visits, is now severely compromised. This has left many advocates worried that schools will be left to police themselves, with predictable consequences for equity and justice. The OCR under siege, empty desks, and overwhelmed investigators. The statistics paint a grim picture. The OCR lost nearly half of its staff, with at least 243 union-represented employees laid off. This dramatic reduction in personnel has left the remaining investigators overwhelmed. Before the layoffs, each attorney handled approximately 60 cases at a time. Now that number has skyrocketed, making it virtually impossible to give each case the attention it deserves. The closure of regional offices further exacerbates the problem. Students and families in areas like California, where the regional office was shuttered, now face significant hurdles in reporting discrimination and accessing support. The OCR's ability to conduct in-person investigations, crucial for assessing the climate and culture of a school, is severely limited. The backlog of cases is staggering. When President Trump took office in January 2025, approximately 12,000 complaints were pending, with a significant portion related to disability discrimination. This backlog has only grown since the layoffs. The OCR is now faced with the daunting task of addressing a mountain of complaints with a fraction of its previous resources. Justice delayed, justice denied, the human cost of a shrunken OCR. The impact of these cuts is not abstract. It is felt acutely by students and families who rely on the OCR to seek justice and ensure equal access to education. For many families, particularly those who cannot afford legal representation, the OCR is the only avenue for addressing discrimination in their children's schools. The OCR's investigations have historically led to significant policy changes, ensuring that schools provide necessary services and accommodations for students with disabilities, address racial disparities in discipline, and protect the rights of LGBTQ+ students. With a diminished OCR, these victories are now in jeopardy. It's going to have a real impact on the ground, said a former OCR investigator who spoke to ProPublica on condition of anonymity. We're talking about kids who are being discriminated against, who are being denied a quality education. The shrinking of the OCR sends a chilling message that discrimination complaints will not be taken seriously. This creates a climate where discrimination is more likely to flourish, leaving vulnerable students without recourse. A legacy dismantled, the long shadow of Trump's education cuts. The Trump administration defended the layoffs as a way to streamline the Department of Education. Critics argue these cuts undermine civil rights protections in education. The shift in focus under the Trump administration is undeniable. The OCR prioritized investigations based on the president's priorities. This shift raises concerns about the politicization of the OCR. The agency's role is to enforce civil rights laws, not advance a political agenda. By redirecting its focus, the Trump administration undermined the OCR's ability to protect students' rights. The long-term consequences of these changes are significant.